gentlemen, tonight we have here one of the finalists of the United Writers Organization's annual writing competition. His name is William Stevens. So, who is William Stevens? Who is Mr. Stevens? Sergeant First Class William Bill A. Stevens Jr., retired, was born in Carlisle, Pennsylvania in 1969. Upon graduating from Carlisle Senior High School, Mr. Stevens enlisted in the United States Army in October 1988. Throughout his 20 years of distinguished military service, he has held positions of leadership ranging in experience from cannoneer, gunnery sergeant, platoon sergeant, senior enlisted advisor, battalion career counselor, battalion intelligence sergeant, senior observer controller trainer, and battalion security manager. Upon retirement from the military with distinction, Mr. Stevens continued leadership roles in the civilian workforce through completion of an internship with the Defense Security Service, a Pennsylvania State Corrections officer, a retired Department of Defense employee. Mr. Stevens' assignments include Mechanicsburg, Capitol Hill, New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, and his military assignments include Fort Dix, New Jersey, Fort Sill, Oklahoma, Fort Lewis, Washington, Fort Carson, Colorado, Fort Riley, Kansas, and Walter Reed Army Medical Center in Washington, D.C., as part of the Wounded Warrior Transition Brigade. Mr. Stevens deployed multiple times overseas locations, including 4 combat deployments to Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, as part of the Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. In 2006, he completed 4 tours to Iraq and Southwest Asia as part of Operation Iraqi, Freedom, Liberation of Iraq, the Transition of Iraq, and National Resolution of Iraq, where his assignments was instrumental in collecting battlefield strategy data. As a result of his research efforts and compilation of war data, Mr. Stevens developed the Security Forces Handbook as a significant contributing author for the Center of Army Lessons Learned. This handbook was mandated for soldiers deploying to battlefield locations to provide better insight and real-life examples for soldiers, as well as to limit casualties in the war zones. I'm your host, Stuart Riley, and this is The Author Show, presented by United Writers Organizations. All right, so hi, Bill. Can I call you Bill? Welcome to
Yes.
The Author Show.
Hi, thank you. My head's about this big now. Wow,
right.
that was great. I wasn't expecting that, but now everybody knows who Mr. Bill is. So, to my friends, I'm Billy. So hi.
Hello, so welcome to The Author Show. I'm your host for tonight, Stuart Riley, and we're going to talk about your journey as an author and your journey as a person entirely. And we're also going to promote your book through this platform. Are you ready?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna cry for a second, but I'm good.
All right.
I don't want to get emotional. Look at my big cheeks going on. Everybody's gonna laugh at me, but I'm
No,
ready
no.
to rock and roll. I'm ready to rock and roll, but let's rock and roll.
So I'm just going to throw you the first question. So why did you name your book The Mirror?
So the reason why I named my book The Mirror, if you look at a mirror, it has a shiny front side, and then if you take it off the wall, it has a dark side, like a dull side.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at people as like mirrors. I believe people are trapped in mirrors, waiting to come out. So I didn't put this like in my dialogue, but there are different types of mirrors. You have, like, we go to a fun house, there's tall mirrors, short mirrors, big mirrors. But when you look into those mirrors, you are projected an image. And I believe those images are kind of false. But there's like your bathroom mirror, and you look into that, and it's not modified. So it shows like the true person, like the true shell of who you are. But the reason why there's a lot of people that have pain, and I have a lot of pain, had a lot of pain, and I wanted to break out of that mirror and let everyone know my story.
Wow.
So uh, sometimes we hide it from others, and like me, I like to figure people out. So the mirror is therapeutic poetry, a little poetry, short stories, and a couple long stories. But it's like I want to say Pandora's box open.
Wow, that's such an explanation of, how you name your book that way. Now, people and the readers can understand, where the mirror title actually came from. So, Bill, did anyone influence you to write? And what do you have to say about that person or the people who influenced you?
Um, yes, both positive and negative.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, I had this friend. His name was Jay Diamond. Um, I won't say his last name, but if he hears this, he's gonna like beat me. Um, he had this little secret about himself. He wrote poetry on the side, and he would like, we would go out sometimes, and he would like say these little slogans and stuff, and it was to get people's attention. So eventually, we broke apart. He
Mm-hmm.
went to California. I went to the military, and I decided to capture my own little images and all kinds of stuff that went on like throughout my military career on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I kept them locked away for a very long time. I never really told anyone this as well, but there's a bunch of entries in my book, kind of like relationship entries about this girl. Her name's Lori. She's from Colorado. Basically, 8 years of dating, 2 tours in Korea, back and forth to Fort Carson, Colorado. Thinking, man, I really thought this lady was going to be the one for me, like my true love, like my first really true love. And boy, I was definitely shocked. Um, I came back from my second tour in Korea. She had been with a few of my so-called friends. I thought they were my friends, and then
Oh,
it was all thrown in my face, and that experience really drove me to a very dark place. Let's just say the karma eventually caught up to her. We're no
yeah,
longer
I
friends.
know karma always finds its way back, you know. Eight
Yeah, we're
years
no longer
is a big
we're
deal.
no longer friends.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Bill, in this live broadcast. Well, of all the topics that authors write about, I'm kind of curious, as well as the listeners. We're all curious as to why did you choose to write about therapeutic poetry?
So poetry in general to me is kind of like nonsense because everybody writes about poetry. Um, Short stories, um, I believe that can be converted. That what I've gone through,
Mm-hmm.
I believe can send a message. So I basically call it therapeutic poetry. So instead of like you going out and getting help, paying for someone to help you like ease the pain, maybe pick up my book and read some of these stories and put yourself into those situations, you know, just like I did.
Yeah, you're really doing a great cause here, um, by just writing your book, making it available out there. So there are actually people who are shy or are ashamed of going to professionals to talk to them about their problems. So your book is really a great help to those people.
You know, I like to say it's it's not even about the money. Like I was telling my new publisher, it's about that message. And if I touch one person, I
Mm-hmm.
did my job. I did my job. So,
Yes.
yep.
Yes, right. So, who is your biggest mentor in life, Bill?
There are a few mentors in my life because without them, I would not be who I am today or what I am today. I first would like to thank my two drill sergeants, Johnson and Nicelonger. When I went to basic training, I was like this hard-headed kid. Like you couldn't tell me what to do. So they always say in the Army, they took a boy and made a man. They definitely did that to me.
Mm.
Um, Very quickly, I found it in 1988. They turned me inside out because, like, our whole unit that we were in, all of us, we went to Germany together. We're a cohort unit. Next thing you know, we're all in combat together. Then I would probably thank my parents. Um, I didn't have a very good upbringing when I was a child. My parents were very strict. Um, they basically came from the old side of the house, the old school side of the house. Punishment was very different. Um, I would say that's probably the way I am today. That's why I'm thankful for the things that I have. And, you know, like I wouldn't care if I have a cell phone or I didn't have a car until I was 19. We never had a car when we were growing up. We walked everywhere. In today's society, like that's the way these people are today. Like I'm not trying to like point my finger at one typical thing, but these kids today, if they were brought up the way I was today, there would not be a lot of crime. Um, Parents are just not strict no more. They're not.
I'd
I'm
say
just
the
going to leave.
kids,
I'm just going to leave it there.
yeah, the kids in today's era got it easier, than.
Yeah. And then I would say there's one other person, Lieutenant Colonel Heidecker. He was my last commander
Mhm.
when I was in New Cumberland. There were 50 of us. So imagine 50 people, 50 guys, all guys. 50 guys, a couple officers, maybe about 5 officers, one sergeant major. Uh, Imagine 50 people, all the same rank, working together. Um, you try to tell somebody what to do, and it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But he taught us teamwork.
Wow.
He taught us as instructors that we have to make sure that we are aware of our surroundings. Keep your head on a swivel, like when you go into combat. 360. You always have to think 360, and that's the way I am today. I always think 360, like outside the box.
Wow.
He
Is that
taught us if we're in the worst situation while teaching, that we take a breath and continue to go on. And then he also taught us how important family was. I didn't have a family until like my 19th year when I met my ex. She was my fiance. He also taught us how important the mission was. If the family's not happy, we're not going to perform the mission. Then he always had time for us. Like he always had time to sit down with us.
wow? You are lucky
So
to have such a
I thank him for that. I really
life.
do.
Yeah, a big shout out to your mentors, Bill. So,
Thank you.
taking into account your military journey, what was your transition from to civilian life like this? From a military man to civilian.
My transition to civilian life was extremely hard. Initially, getting out of Walter Reed Army Medical Center and imagine having all your wife's friends. Uh,
Mhm.
Knowing that you just got out of a psychiatric ward, basically I was in an outpatient psych unit. And the first thing when you come home is having your wife friends look at you like this, what is it? Looking at judging a book by its cover. Then your wife is a psychiatric nurse. Go figure, right? Treating you like a patient. Basically, here I am all drugged up on lithium and Prozac, very high levels to keep me balanced. You have your wife telling you how bad of a person you are, go get a job, pushing you to go get a job. First job working as a merchandiser and going and working at a correctional facility.
It must
at a
be
prison.
really, you must have had it rough during those days, starting anew.
Yeah, coming from a high level in the military and then coming back to being like a stepchild or being stepped on, especially working at the prison. I'm not going to name that prison, but when you come out of the academy, of the correctional officers academy, and go in there with a big head, knowing they throw you to the wolves, like you work with murderers and killers and crazy people, and all they do is lie to you. And what do? You take that stuff home to your wife and your daughter, and you push it on them. So, but that was definitely a wake-up call for me, and a transition to everything happens for a reason, basically. So I would say you come home at night late, you don't have time for your child, all you want to do is sleep. You go through this marriage slowly dissipating.
I know that's out of question, but how old was your child back then?
I would say two, three. Like I never really knew about my daughter's upbringing. After she was born, I was at Walter Reed for a year, so that was a whole year I missed her growing up. And then 2, 3, 4, basically after she turned 5 or 6, I was on different medications, so I was coming down from that cloud that I was on, like that hate cloud. Like I never had time for my family, and I go back and look at myself and say how terrible of a father I am, and that's what I wrote in the mirror. Like I actually wrote about that. But
I'm sure it
like
was,
that.
a lot of dads listening right now can actually relate to that.
Yeah. So I
Yes.
think the hardest thing was like sitting down, all drugged up, trying to write my resume. Like I never could write my resume. But it was funny because, like, I guess the resume that I worked on when I was at Walter Reed, we went through like a 1-day resume course. It must have went somewhere because, like, I got this magical phone call from the government. They wanted me to come in and work as a security specialist. So they basically reinstated my high security clearance that I had when I was in the military. I went to work for the government thinking that this was going to be all downhill, but then when you disclose to people that you have PTSD, let's just say, they make you a target. And that's what I was. I'll try to sum this up real quick, but like, they accused me of like stealing classified stuff, or, saying that I did this, and, they tried to take my clearance. I didn't have a lawyer. No one explained to me anything. So I used my friends at the high level that were my mentors in life, sitting down with them, step by step, looking at stuff online, looking at different cases. And I won my case. I got my high security clearance back. I had a top secret security clearance. I'm not afraid to disclose that. I mean, I probably still have it. I don't know. Maybe they didn't take it away. I still get these strange phone calls that ask me to come work at like.
Yeah, you sure have touched the hearts of our readers, Bill.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for sharing that experience.
I wanted to say just one other thing. So, like, the whole transition is still not going very well. Thank God that I have the networking chain that I have. to use the information. If it didn't, I wouldn't be alive today. And I have to give that special shout out to a doctor. He's been my psychiatrist since 2008. I don't know how anybody that could say they had a psychiatrist since 2008. He's now the chief of psychiatry. I won't say no names or what facility, but if it wasn't for that guy.
Okay, so yes, Bill, we still have Bill here on the other line. Okay, so we still have a few questions we need to throw at him before we could end this interview, this live broadcast. So, good evening again, America. Good evening, New York. We still have Mr. Stevens on the other line, and we have another question we wanted to throw at him. So, Bill, for the many people who suffer post traumatic stress disorder or PTSD and hide it and do not talk about their illness or trauma, why do you?
Pretty simple. I consider myself as a voice of the voiceless. If you don't have a voice, no one's going to listen to you. No one's going to help you, and no one's going to hear you.
True.
So there are people out there like me who like to help those people who don't have a voice. I'm here to tell their story or tell my story. I'm not saying that I'm an open book or anything, but I will let people know that I suffer from a type of mental illness. I believe it's very hard to disclose to my daughter when she was a very young age that her father had serious mental illnesses coming from the combat side of the house in the military. And I also disclose here today live that I think a little of it's from the childhood as well. Me being brought up as a child. Last thing I would say is she's my motivation. I love her so much, and I need to keep trying to be a better father for her.
Wow. So you are like a representative for those people who can't share their voice, who can't tell it to the people and just keep hiding in their shell that they have that post-traumatic stress disorder. And yeah, you're actually helping a lot to those to the community, Bill, by standing up for yourself and just being able to let them know, for awareness. So, what do you think is misunderstood about the veterans community?
So this is just me speaking. So everybody has their opinion. So I tend to look at different situations and different perspectives. So I categorize a certain type of veterans. So there's different veterans. So you have your World War II, your your Vietnam and Korean War veterans. They should be like their own class of veterans. Like they're like the elite group, almost like the forgotten group when they came back. People spit on them and, they were forgotten. And then you have this other class of veterans who serve 180 consecutive days. I'm sure the military gurus are going to fact check me on that, but I believe, if you did your service honorably, thank you for your service. I salute you. Then there are another group of veterans who served 20 to 30 plus years. They're their own type of veterans. And then there are combat veterans, and they should be in their own class. And if you're 100% service connected and you earn that 100% service connected, you should be in your own class of veterans. When I served, it was all about patriotism. Today, I don't even know what it's about. I mean, those folks are still considered veterans, but I didn't join the military to go to college. And I found out and Desert Shield, Desert Storm, straight out of basic training AIT that, you know, and then there's some people who serve as, never seen combat,
Mhm.
never seen an overseas assignment. That doesn't diminish their service, but at the same time, I don't understand it either. I'm proud of my service, and I personally think that it's the ultimate sacrifice. And I believe that everybody who serves should see combat
Mhm.
or at least a deployment. And as we say in the military, actually in the Army, we train as we fight.
Wow. That's big words right there, and I'm sure a lot of veterans are also listening to us right now. So, if you could say one thing to the veterans community, the people who suffer from this illness, or anyone who has witnessed some type of traumatic event, what would you say to them?
I believe that everybody has a traumatic illness waiting to come out of them.
Mm-hmm.
If it hasn't come out by now, it will eventually come out one day. Um, that degree of it. It will vary, but I believe that everyone experiences it at some time or another, that type of traumatic situation, such as combat. I think that everyone experiencing that should seek help, get involved with the community, speak out about it, let their voices be heard. Don't hold it in because it's just going to drive you crazy and make you bounce off the walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm open about my post-traumatic stress disorder and my mental illness. Um, I always check on my battles. We
Mm-hmm.
call them battle buddies. And they encourage me, all my retired veteran friends, they encourage me to stay open to what I do. And
Wow.
I believe that's why I wrote my book, to send a message.
Great, great. That's a wonderful message out there. And so, lastly, can you name three stories or poems in your book that would absolutely catch the readers by surprise?
Um, so I'm just going to let you at a cliffhanger here. Uh, 96 hours, Desert Shield. Actually, Desert Storm was a 96-hour battle.
Mhm.
If you want to know what Desert Storm was like, read 96 hours. Living on the razor's edge,
Mhm.
always going and going and going and going. And then one day, everything stops and drops off and you die. Puppet on a string. That's my last thing I would say. I
Mhm.
believe everybody's a puppet. Do you remember Pinocchio? He had
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
controlling him. Remember, got controlled. Well,
Yes. That's-
I'm the puppet master now. So, and I believe if you read the Puppet Master, you'll see what I'm talking about. Uh, because I believe everybody is controlled, but there is a time in your life where it's time to cut the strings and go on with your life, and that's me. I did my time in the military, did my time in the civilian government. I got divorced. I cut them strings.
Mhm.
I'm not involved in a relationship. All I care about is taking care of my kid and sending a direct message to my friends that I'm
Mhm.
not messing around. And I'm just going to say, uh, there's a book too called The Broken Mirror. So stand
Wow.
by. The manuscript is happening
Yeah.
right now.
It's in the making. So, yeah, we will definitely look forward to that, Bill. So, is there anything at all that you'd like to say to our listeners?
I think if you have an issue, you should go seek help. You shouldn't hold it in.
Mm-hmm.
If you have some type of mental illness, I think that you should at least write your thoughts, talk about it, don't hold it in. Last thing I would say that, like I said, I don't have a fan base, but I have a very lot of good friends from high school, through the government, my mentors that I've seen going through the military, civilian life. This transition is not over yet. I get ready to turn 55, and it's just keep going, and I feel better about myself. I'm more healthier. Uh, you know, doing what I do now, I just do a little side flex job as a courier delivering blood and specimens. I
Mhm.
absolutely love the people I work with. And the last thing I would say is thank you, everyone. It has been an honor to represent the voice of the voiceless. I am the voice. Um, Get my book. We're going to be rebranding it currently right now. This new little cover that you see here is the new cover. I was nominated for a Therapeutic Poetry Award. So buy it. I don't need your money. It's the message. It's all about the message. Thanks
Mhm.
to all my friends. Thank you for all your support, and I love you all.
Wow, that's such a wonderful message right there, Bill. So, listeners, good evening again. This is your host, Stuart Riley, and we still have here Bill, or Mr. William Bill Stevens. And thank you so much for your time, Bill, for doing us this favor to do this interview. All right. So, folks, if you want to order copies of Bill's book, you can go to Amazon and click or search Mirror by William Stevens. And there's also an upcoming book. They're rebranding it now. So you might want to wait and get the new copies. Okay. All
June,
right. So we
June,
are live on air broadcast or partner radio stations WBBM 101.3 New York, Big Shot Radio Virginia, Sirius XM 95.0, Radio Shack 101.8, and all the substations partner nationwide. All right. Bill, is there anything you'd like to say? You were saying something earlier?
June 21st.
June 21st. Wow, that's a big revelation out there. So on June 21st, your book is going to be out and live. It's going to be available for purchase.
We don't know a price yet, but the last book was $11.99. I think we're going to go with maybe $15. There are going to be 15 only hardbacks, so they're going to go out to my special friends, and they will not be available no more. I
Mm-hmm.
made the contract that we're only going to do softback, digital, and ebook. So
All right. So mark your calendars, folks. June 21. Is it June 21? All
yeah,
right.
my birthday.
Wow. Well, it's today is the 10th of May, so that probably is it. It's gonna be in a month or so. All right. So
Everything's done. We're just tweaking things.
oh, so
Things that
you're
I
just
don't.
waiting to
I'm
launch it.
I'm very OCD. Basically, if I don't like it, I want an adjustment. And the people that I work with right now, my publishing team, outstanding, great. This new cover just caught me off by surprise with the second edition, matching the background and all that. So like, I'm waiting for the back cover. We changed all the font and everything, so it doesn't look like the old publisher. So I'm excited. They just gave me this cover yesterday, so um,
Well, I'm sure our listeners are all excited and waiting for your book to be out there. So, okay, thank you so much, Bill, for your time.
Miss Stewart, it has been an honor. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. So, let's have a quick 90 seconds commercial break to give thanks to our special sponsor brands. Okay. All right. So again, this is Stuart Riley. I'm your host for the Author Show, presented by the United Writers Organizations. We'll be right back, folks.